a little far to read the comments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm putting you in right now. Put you in, Coach.
All right, put me in, Coach. I'm ready. What's happening? Everybody. Did I disappear? No, there I am.
I can't get you on the screen. Action.
That looks a lot like me, Travis.
Action.
Guys, I'm here at the Liquid Living Studios again.
Liquid Living Lab.
Oh, Liquid Living Lab.
See what I did?
Excuse me.
3 L's. See? Liquid.
I think your torso's taller than me.
I do. I have long. That's why shirts don't.
This sucks,
fit
man.
me like midriff.
So I'm 6'6", and he's like, what, 6'4"?
6'6.5", I think.
Oh, knock it off. So, yeah. So I'm technically taller than Travis unless we sit down, but I'm a sloucher. You guys probably see that a lot right here. I mean, there we go. There we go. How do I get the chat on here? Is that?
You know, I always see you on all my chat things.
Oh.
What's up, guys? I'm Travis, in case you guys didn't know that. And if you don't know who this guy is, and I don't know how you got on this channel or on this live stream, you need to leave immediately.
You don't want anything to do with this.
We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook, on the Informative Fisherman platform.
Instagram over there.
And the Gram. We're gramming behind the scenes.
On the gram over there.
I feel like you do have to, on the Gram, at some point, show them behind the studio, too. Because this looks nice and professional. Look at this thing.
Yeah, I mean,
would you guys say we're in a professional studio right now?
You look great.
And it is, what we're looking at is just a slew of wires and lights.
So if you guys don't know, Travis is one of the faces of FLW. You are the face of FLW Live.
They were hurting.
Do they? A quick question. Do they put makeup on you? Tell the truth.
No, they don't. I have to do all my own makeup, and it's
They really don't put any makeup on you?
No
Because
makeup.
Byron looked like he was wearing makeup. In case you're watching, Byron.
Byron travels with his own makeup artist.
Does he? Oh, here we got some questions right away. We're gonna go into some updates. We're gonna let everybody get the chance to log in here. I'm gonna read some questions off of YouTube, guys.
In case you guys are wondering what we're doing today, we're gonna do some Q&A. We're going to do some STIX announcements. All of you guys that are already pre-ordered on the STIX stuff, we've got some great news for you guys. No, I guess I don't want to get them. They're going to be like, oh, the rods are here. No, rods are not here, but I got some other news that you guys are going to love because you guys are getting a better deal than you guys originally thought. And we've got some even more news for you guys that haven't ordered yet because we're going to be opening it back up. And then obviously we're going to hang out and answer some questions. Nick's funneling through all the trolls right now.
Don't let them talk bad about you guys like that. Unfollow Travis immediately if viewers are not trolls. No, it's kidding. So one of the questions, where do we like to fish? That's a pretty vague question. Where do you like to fish, Travis? We'll rock that question.
I like to fish in Nick's private pond.
Mm-hmm. So do I. I'm not gonna lie. You know what's funny is people think it's like the easiest ever. You know. Here, let me just correct this. Because he's only like made a couple casts there, he came over and I haven't caught a fish in like 2 days, and he whips this lipless crankbait off my dock, and he's like, "Oh, I like the field," because he was testing.
I'd never seen these rods yet. This was the final prototypes. I drive all up stocked in 2.5 hours. I get there and Nick's like, "Yeah, they're not really biting right now." I pick up the rod. I'm like, "All right." I'm like, "Wow, this thing feels fantastic." Whoa, there's a fish, dude. And it was the first cast on the brand new rods. So I was like, dude, I like these things.
It had to be the rod.
Yeah.
There it is, you guys. The rods not only are fantastic build, fantastic quality, but they just automatically catch more fish.
Guaranteed.
You ever play those video games where you add something to your wardrobe and it's like plus ability?
Yes. These rods, you add that to fishermen. If you find it on some guy dead or whatever, after you kill him,
it's
a
plus 10. It's a plus 10 fishing ability. So a lot of people didn't know that about STIX rods.
Someone tell me on the comments. Nick and I were trying to figure this out because Nick and I don't play video games. We're out fishing all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But tell me the game right now that everyone is playing where they drop you down on an island and you have to like survive out of 100 people or whatever that game is. Tell me the name of the game. Because my brother set it up. I have he brought this giant TV down. He brought the game console, everything, a couch, set it up in my office because I have high-speed internet and played it for like 2 days straight. I would just bring him food to the office when I'd come to the office in the mornings, dude. But I can't remember what it was. So I'm sure I want to see what it was because we could not remember it for the life of us.
Okay. Oh, here's a good question. What are some tips on targeting fish in 40 feet of water or deeper? Drop shot technique? There's a large variety. And I know you would freaking drop a lipless crankbait down at 40 feet. Anytime you could drop a lipless on something's head, you will. My common practices for it is if they're actively chasing bait fish, if I see like the bottom and you're looking on your fish finder, of course, if you're targeting fish deeper than 40 feet, I hope you are. If not, you can still kind of brainiac this technique and imagine you see them down there. If the arches are very close to the bottom and not stacked, this is where I'm going to use a dragging bait, like a football jig, a drop shot, a Ned rig, a shaky head. But if I see that the fish are stacked on top of each other, what sometimes I like to do is back up and throw an Alabama rig, let it fall all the way to the bottom like a jig, let my line hit, slow roll it across the bottom. Another thing you can do is vertically fish spoons. I actually watched a video where you got a double hookup on spoons before. Where the heck were you?
That was literally the only time that has ever happened on the spoons. I was at Berryessa.
Yeah. I've only done it with stripers.
And I hooked it up. I was filming. I was by myself filming it too.
Yeah, you stood on it, right?
I had 2 different spoons on for 2 different sizes, and I was spooning one. I caught one, and there was some fish that came up with it. So I dropped it. I undid the other one, dropped it down, was able to get 2, and actually got them both into the boat.
So
and
sick.
I've tried that a million times. It's never worked.
Yeah, I've tried it a million
off.
times too.
Even if you get hooked, one comes off, all that stuff. And it actually worked, and I got it on camera. That never works that way.
Yep. Hello, Rebecca. Let's see.
For targeting in 40 feet, I'm always just looking at the graph. I got to see fish on the graph before I really start fishing at 40 feet deep. I'm going to try to find them shallower first.
Any swim bait rods for over 2 ounces? Actually, yeah. I've thrown, let's see, on the surface stick and the power stick, I was throwing a lure that was 4.5 ounces, actually. It does feel a little bit heavy on the surface stick. The power stick did it just fine. It's not like an 8-inch plus glide bait rod. That's kind of more of a special category. And you don't get to do all the other things a power stick can do, like punching and stuff. It gets a little bit too heavy for that application. But yeah, you can fish a large variety from your 7-inch and down swim baits. So yeah, the power stick's definitely going to be the choice for that.
Yeah, I was throwing it. I threw all kinds of different swim baits when I was down in Mexico on the power stick, and it worked fantastic.
Are you guys going to do a panfish series of rods? You know, I would love to.
This guy will say yes right now. He wants to do it. But we both agree that we are keeping it simple. We're trying to literally, like, it was just one thing at a time. And yeah, we'd love to do some kind of striper inshore type deal. There's a million ideas that we could do, but
it won't be soon. It won't be soon.
The whole thing is, do not look forward to that right now, because we are just focused on the Styx line.
If you're looking to go buy a panfish rod right now, go get it. And later on, when the panfish series comes out, go sell that rod at a garage sale or whatever you want to do with it. Give it to a friend or something, and then maybe further on down the line, further, not farther, because we're talking about hypothetical distance, not actual distance. You like that?
I did not know that.
I'm fairly educated.
There is a difference between farther and further?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So farther is actual distance. I got corrected on my how to cast farther video by a bunch of people. So I said, no. I've read this one before because I've fell faulty to that one before. Yeah, so actual distance is farther. Hypothetically, if you're going further in life, that's further. Yeah, pretty neat, huh?
That's fantastic.
You're welcome, everybody.
It gets informative fishermen.
Nothing to do with fishing, but whatever. You're welcome, Chris.
Got a lot of comments.
How does moon phase affect bass fishing? I love this subject. This is very technical, and I'm not going to overly saturate it. Oh, and after this, we're going to get into the partnership acquisition between Styx and...
Yes, okay. All right, well, don't spoil it.
Don't spoil it. Okay, so how does moon phase affect bass? Moon is like another element. It's like a condition. So there's elements and there's conditions. A condition would be muddy water. An element would be how the sky's looking that day or time of day. So hypothetically, I want you to look at the moon only affecting bass at 2 times. That's the new moon or the full moon. The new moon is when you don't see it. It's black, okay? The full moon is obviously when it's bright and full. We all know what a full moon looks like. I want you to only pay attention to when that full moon's 90% or more, and that new moon when it's 10% or less. And the reason why that is it really dictates how a bass can see at nighttime. You also need to remember, as the Earth rotates, the moon is rotating, okay? So if you see that the moon's coming up at 8 o'clock today, if it rose at 8 o'clock today, it would rise at 9 p.m. tomorrow and 10 p.m. the next day. So here's a cool little thing. If you have a full moon or a new moon, If you're fishing in the evening and you have a full moon that's coming up at the same time that the sun's going down, it's going to be a phenomenal bite. That's generally how it works. Not always. There could be some other condition to interrupt it. At nighttime, that also means there's going to be more light. Therefore, the fish can see bugs. It's going to bring everything up near the surface. So surface feeding is a great time to do it. A moving bait on a full moon is fantastic. Then you have the opposite. You have the new moon. A lot of guys like to fish big, giant swim baits across the bottom on the new moon because a big bass sits there, and when they feel that large presence of something moving slow, they can't visually target, but it's a great opportunity for them to eat a slow moving bait. That's much more on the advanced end. What I want you to focus on that new moon that's less than 10% or more, first thing in the morning as that sun comes up. They've had a very rough time visually feeding all night. First opportunity they have at light, everything's going to be near them. Bongo, bingo, wango. Chippity chomp, chippy
bang,
chippy chomp.
Bing, bang, boom, boys.
And that's how that goes. So hopefully that helped you out. Boom, announce.
Guys, for our pre-sales, we had talked about the extra swag you're going to get. Everybody that ordered the STIX pack is going to get a STIX hat, similar to what Nick's wearing. Actually, one of these bad boys right here. You're going to get a STIX hat. You're going to get a UV buff here, and not these little crummy buffs that everybody's selling. This one's actually, got the holes. It's actually sewn individually to fit your face. It's not just that tubing that you get that doesn't fit. I got a big nose and stuff, dude. I need some, like, it was that bad. I need something tailored for my contour of my body.
Absolutely. Look at you.
We talked about you're getting rod socks and you're getting UV long sleeve UV shirts. So we're putting all that together.
Oh, they're long sleeves?
Long sleeve.
Oh, awesome.
Do you need a UV? I don't want UV for just half my body.
Oh,
I need
that's casting muscle right there. I'm not sure if you guys can see
the
that.
UV shirts. So we didn't announce this. We knew we were going to deliver this, but we had been working out a collaboration with another company on the side, and it finally we got confirmed that everything's going through. They're printing everything out as we speak. So I want to announce our collaboration, the STIX collaboration with Affco, American Fishing Tackle Company.
Premium apparel.
Premium apparel.
This stuff ain't cheap. This is top-notch fishing
So all
gear.
of your guys' gear you're going to get is going to be a collab. It's actually Affco gear with the STIX logos on it. So you're getting quality. Affco's made a huge push in the bass fishing industry over the last year. Scott Martin's one of those guys that they've really partnered up with hard. He's rocking Affco over the place. They are targeting
the golden boy.
The bass fishing industry. They've got some great products. So you're going to get the UV long sleeve Affco shirt. You're going to get, this is actually one of their buffs. You're going to get an Affco STIX, Affco branded buff. And then you're going to get the STIX hats, the rod gloves. So you guys, that went up. So all you guys that already pre-ordered and we sold out of our pre-orders, you guys are getting that gear. You just got upgraded to even better gear from courtesy of Affco.
It's worth, I think retail we're like just under $110 worth of swag.
Yes. Yeah. So well over $100 of extra gear you're getting with that STIX pack.
Huge.
Now, the other thing that the Affco deal freed up, because we were putting this out of our own budget, so we were having to, we could only create so much for that original pre-order package. Affco has now freed up. We have more swag to do. So we're actually opening up the STIX pack. We're going to be selling 20 more. So if you go to the site, there actually still is the STIX pack for sale.
They're not all
right now.
sold out anymore. They were.
Yeah.
We did. But with Affco partnering with us, that benefited us big time to take that extra step for you guys. So there is 20 more six packs.
So now we are still
get a six pack.
So we're still doing the pre-orders, and make sure you guys understand it is a pre-order. So when you purchase it, you're going to be getting it in July at some point.
Late
July, and we'll be sending also the clothing will be coming in a separate package. All your swag will be coming. You're going to be swagged out before the rods even get there, which will be cool. You wear all your gear.
You can rocking this lid,
Open up your box, and then get to have your rods while you're in that.
I want my stuff.
Yes.
So I don't even have my rods yet either.
Yes, we
have our prototypes.
Yes, Nick and I have been using prototypes. Actually, there's probably people that are watching this don't even know what we're even talking about. We're coming out with a rod line, but you guys, we're coming out.
I think they do.
Nick and I have been talking for a long time, and we try to simplify things. We love teaching. We love, helping people get better at fishing. And so we came up with the idea of why, like golf has a set of golf clubs, why can't bass fishing have a set of fishing clubs or fishing rods? And that's what we made. STIX Fishing, you have all the rods you need in 6 rods, 6 sticks to do all the techniques you're going to run into. And so they're very versatile rods. Nick and I have tested these things for the last couple of years and had prototype after prototype. We've got this thing dialed
and
in.
abused.
Got this thing dialed in. These rods are $100 a piece. They're going to sell for $100 a piece once they get here. Right now we're doing the STIX pack, which is the full set for $500. Plus you get all the swag I just talked about. I'm not going to list it all again. It is on the website. Anyway, we couldn't be more excited about that.
How long are you planning on rocking the beard? It's way more manly, and I'm feeling a little bit intimidated.
You are? Good.
I mean, it's a good look for you, man.
We're going to see.
You don't have any gray hair in there. As soon as that baby comes, 2 months, that's going to change the game.
I think I just felt the gray hair spout out when you said that.
That's why I have to cut mine real short so it's not all shiny.
Every time you say baby, new gray hair
Baby
pops
boop,
out.
baby boop.
We'll see. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm going to FLW. I'm going to Kentucky for the Lake St. Clair tournament.
So when do you go live on that? Not tomorrow. What,
Saturday
the day
and
after?
Sunday.
Oh,
So
Saturday
we'll
and
see.
Sunday.
We'll see if they have to step in and do some.
Yeah, so if you guys go to
Landscaping.
FLWfishing.com, is that what it is?
Yes, FLWfishing.com. If you go
And,
to the
and
YouTube
click the live
or Facebook.
during the tournament. You're gonna visually see Travis calling the play-by-play of the anglers on the lake or river or wherever they are.
Yeah, it's actually a cool gig. For any of you guys who don't understand what I get to go do, they fly me to Kentucky, stick me in a studio, and I have all these screens, and I sit and I watch the FLW tour event, and I just get to comment on it. I get to go, oh, Brian Thrift. Oh, he's making that cast. I wouldn't have done the same, but you know, I'm this Brian Thrift.
I mean to cut you off, my
It's
main
a dream
man.
job. I get to just talk fishing.
Travis Lear said, "Is there a warranty?" Absolutely. There is a limited lifetime warranty for people who are taking part in the pre-sale.
Yes.
You have a lifetime replacement. What was it? 35? Is that what it is? I think it's $35.
Yeah, this is when we gotta have our numbers. Guys.
Yeah.
Like our other partner's the one that has all the details.
Yeah,
But,
other partner has it. It's right around $35.
yes, $35, limited lifetime warranty. So if something happens to it, send
yeah.
$35. We send you a rod. You send the rod. You send what's left of the rod, or we have
Yeah,
some way
you cut
of-
out the logo on the handle.
There's some kind of details. You send
It's
us
easy.
back proof that you had the rod and it's broken, and then we send you back another rod.
And we don't even care what you did with it. If you wanted to whack your friend with it for
Yes.
like not netting a fish properly, like trying to net a fish tail first,
Happens.
and you want to break the rod over him.
Happens.
Good luck doing that. It's carbon nanotechnology. It's probably going to hurt like hell, and the rod's going to be perfectly fine. But if you do manage to break it, you can replace it.
Yeah, and that goes into, and that's what I like is like, there's been a lot of times when I bought rods. I actually bought a brand new rod. I was working at a tackle shop, and I didn't have $2 in my name, but
sucks.
I spent. They allowed me to pay spend my paycheck before I got it. Like I put it on tab, so I'm like, I'm
bad
going to
idea,
a tournament. I need this new rod. I bought it. I walked out of the tackle shop, put it in my truck, and slammed it. As I shut the door, it slid out
you
of the truck.
freaking serious?
Slammed it. I'm like, dude. And so but that was what we did for these rods. We wanted something that was affordable. That's why we had to come in $100.
Yep,
That's why
absolutely.
we don't sell in a retail store, is because the market would have to be too high on it, because these would normally retail for, if you bought a tackle shop, these would be about $200.
Yep.
But we're selling them direct because you and I just exist online anyway, so it's not a big deal.
We're online people.
Trading online, and but have durability. We could have made a $400 rod that would be made of space age material and all this stuff. But when you pay for this $400 rod, it's extra sensitive. Well, extra sensitive also means that it will crumble when you look at it wrong. So there are advantages and disadvantages as you go up. So we wanted the best rod we could get at a price point that everyone could afford, and it was durable. So you can throw it in the back of your truck. Nick and I both do with our cars. You can throw it in your car. Nobody just has their rods put away in their rod locker every single day. We all drag them and throw them, and then our
If you look what
wives
my
and
truck look like
girlfriends,
right now,
when
we should take Instagram out to my truck after this.
and then the girlfriend moves the tackle. I told you to move the tackle. She goes, and all the tips scrape along the ceiling, and she's trying to move them across the room, and you're like,
Funny story. So, those wacky rig weed guard hooks? There's one that Mustad have that has that like pin that pulls back behind it. So I had a wacky rig Senko on, and my buddy got in a hurry and jammed it in my truck, and it stuck in the ceiling. And dude, it was in there deep. So I said, dude, I want to see how long I can keep it there. So I cut the line off, and my dad complained every single time he got in the truck that one of my kids was going to hook themselves on it. Long story short, my kids didn't hook themselves on it, but he eventually took it out. And I felt kind of like deflated a little bit. Like that was decorative.
dude, I feel like all of us have had hooks in our cars at one point. My buddy took my truck, he dropped me in the truck, or dropped me in the water with my boat, pulls up to the parking lot, and then we left a couple rods in the truck. Well, when he put them in, there was like a top water bait, like a spook or something.
Oh,
He stuck it in the
gosh.
seat, and it stuck into my leather. And so when I went to go grab the boat, or when the truck to go pull out, I'm like, what? And so forever there was just a big split in the leather. And you know how that just every time you sit down gets bigger and bigger, and it was always reminding me of that time.
Gib here, Gibg says, do rods matter? What type of rods would you throw with a frog? The Styx surface stick is an absolutely insanely good frog rod.
Yes.
You need a moderate, medium heavy to heavy. And there's a fine balance there. Some people make a frog rod that's just too darn heavy. Some people make a frog rod that has too stiff of a tip because they're trying to make up for it for the power of the rod. And yes, absolutely, rods do matter in the biggest way possible. So in theory, if you look at a frog, this is where you tie the eye on. There's 2 hooks on the back of the frog. Now, if you have too stiff of a tip and the bass eats your frog this way and you set the hook, you're slingshotting it out of his mouth. It never turns the hooks into the roof of his mouth. The hooks will never plant in the roof of his mouth if the tip's too stiff. If you have too powerful of a rod, it does the same thing, even if you have a soft tip. But if you have just the right power, what it does is it allows the tip of that rod to bow, loads up pressure, lets the bass feel that something's trying to pull and get away, just like all things in the environment. If I grab Travis and said, come with me, buddy, come with me, he's going to try to get away. Naturally, he's going to pull away, and then I'm going to try to pull harder. This is what happens in Mother Nature. So designing a rod around that absolutely matters. And the reason, I've said this before with Styx rods, and I don't want to re-preach to you guys. You've already heard me talking about this. Old rod designs, if a rod hasn't been designed within the last 8 years, I honestly feel as if it's inadequate. The evolution of lines over the last 8 to 10 years is unbelievable. The fluorocarbon's got twice as better. The braid is 5 times better. What we're all talking about now is very, very low stretch lines. You're using lines that have very, very little stretch. All those rods were designed in the past to make up for all that stretch. It's not what you need anymore. Unless you're fishing the cheapest line possible you can find on the shelf, then those old rods probably will work just fine for you on your application purposes. But we're using high performance wheels, fluorocarbon. We're using off-road vehicles in our braided lines. And you have to have a rod. Your rod is now your cushion. And you'll notice this. Yeah. You'll see tears. Where you hook fish, you'll see a tear mark. Like it literally wrenched through the roof of his mouth. Something has to give. And we designed these rods with the 30-ton graphite and carbon nanotechnology. And I know that sounds all technical. But what it is, it's super light. It's a high modulus rod that has a ton of power and a perfectly even bend and build across the power of the rod. That makes up for setting the hook extremely hard. Dude, on our power stick, I'm throwing big swim baits. I frogged on it. I've punched it. I've seen you doing some awesome punching with it. But at the same time, I fished chatterbaits on it. Had fish eat it 10 feet from the boat, maybe even less, maybe 6 feet. And I drill them full power. It's all on video. I'm not making this crap up. And there's not a single tear. I drill them. The rod bows to them big time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, when I watch the video in slow motion, because it looks like I'm just absolutely destroying the rod. I didn't even notice how much it gave. And then it was right back into its proper action.
Yeah.
So absolutely, rods matter.
Yeah, everyone thinks they need the shut off. Like that's where we have the California Delta.
Crazy terminology.
It's gnarly stuff, and everyone thought you needed to throw these broomsticks is what they call them for frogging, for punching. You needed a heavy rod with just all backbone.
Back in the day, you did
give it to them.
You did. They weren't wrong.
Now here's what's happened. Now is think if you're over some heavy stuff right now and you set that hook and that fish, it's a big fish, and it runs into that log. You do want some give. That fish, if you're just pulling, if you have no give in that line, that fish is going to be stuck to that log, and eventually it's going to rip his lip.
You pinned him.
Yep, and you're going to rip that. The only thing to give is the hook to flex, or to rip the cartilage or flesh on that fish, and you're going to lose the fish.
Which happens all the time.
Yep, or you rip it enough that when that fish comes cartwheeling over, eventually it now has a hole in the lip, and it will come free. It'll wiggle free.
Yeah, the barb was pointless.
When you set, you need some give at some point. If that fish is not going to come, you just need to keep pressure and it will come over. But you don't need to keep it pinned. You need to give it some wiggle room, or it's going nowhere, and all you're going to do is tear off away from the fish.
Imagine this theory: when you hang a lure up over a branch and you reel your lure into the branch, you're like, "Oh, it's tight." What do? You put the rod forward and you start shaking it. You give it slack. That's the exact same principle. Something has to give to come forward. A lot of the time when something's hung up, you start shaking it because you're trying to get it to give. If you have something completely pinned and locked out, it's not going to work. And with the lines we have nowadays, you have to have that. It's really dumb not to.
See a bunch of Styx questions.
Yeah.
Real quick, you guys, that's a good question. When will rods be for sale individually. As soon as they show up, they're going on the site for individual. If you want to just buy the surface stick or one of the hybrid sticks, that will be for sale at that point.
But please remember, though, you're not getting all the extra swag by buying the individual rod. You're purchasing the individual rod, and every one of our rods is coming with a rod glove, right?
Yes.
That's pretty freaking dope.
That was something that we talked about, you guys. That I am 100% sure in the next 2 years, every single rod will come with some kind of rod shield, rod sleeve, rod stick sock, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and because you guys are spending, it's $100 to $300 for rods, and everyone will start doing this. We're going to make sure we are one of the ones leading the way on including these in there, because you've got to be able to take care of your investment.
Gib asks, are the rods in store? No, they are not, and I'm going to tell you why and how this works. And if you purchased a rod from a store, do not look at the company. I'm going to explain something to you. Don't look at the company you purchased it from like they ripped you off, because you need to understand why they have to charge more in stores. If we were to sell sticks in stores, we would have to raise the cost on you. And the reason why is the margins are very small. To pay the people that work for the company, including Travis and I, if we had to do that, and then we had to give the store a discount, we had to give the distributor a discount, then he had to give the store a discount, we have to raise the cost so everyone can get paid. And this is why a lot of the time you're going to see a rod like a Styx rod, okay? This rod should be retail from $180 to $225. There's rods out there around that range that have the very, very similar components to ours. They're not built the same way. They're not designed to be versatile rods. They're designed to be more one tactic particular rods. And those rods in the store are going to be around $180 to $225. So if you think about Styx, the reason why we only have to charge you $100 for it is we're not going that route. And yeah, so it's not like you can pick it up and feel it unless you come out to a show and we're there and you can check out the rods at that point. So you are taking our word for that. And if you do feel uncomfortable doing that, don't buy the rod, or buy one and then see if you like it and then purchase the other ones later on. So don't feel obligated to buy for any reason. This is just a solution that we put out there. They're high-end rods. They're very affordable rods. And it's a different design concept to have all six, to have a full set. Let's answer some more fishing questions too, man. How do tides affect fishing in a river? It's actually pretty simple. So a dominant element is a tide. It's a tidal system. The moon's moving, the water's moving in and out. So basically,
we're talking about the California Delta is basically which.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of rivers.
California Delta is the tides,
and the ocean too.
The ocean, yeah. California Delta is, for the bass guys, that is the mecca. I mean, that's one of the best fisheries in the country.
Sometimes.
But yeah, sometimes the tide. Sometimes. Yeah, when it's not, it's the tides is getting you. So,
sometimes you get your butt kicked.
So go on. Yeah, California Delta guys, tidal system. It fluctuates every
3 hours.
6 hours, right?
Every 3 hours.
When's a new tide?
Oh, so every 6.
Yeah, so every 6 tides, it's the opposite. Yeah, it will be the complete opposite every 6 hours.
So imagine this. Imagine if you have 4 foot of water coming in. That's a lot of water moving. So you have more particles, you have more life moving by objects faster. A bass doesn't want to sit in the current, but he might sit on the edge of that current, and he has a lot of options to feed. Now let's say it's a 2 foot tide. It's moving very, very slow. He doesn't have a lot of options to feed. He's not seeing the bait. He might just rest at that point and not eat. So a lot of people say, oh, it's a small tide. It sucks. Okay? Small tides sometimes are really good in the wintertime when the fish are cold and lethargic and they want things moving slower. In the summertime when things are moving fast, that water's cooler. That's moving out fast. Those fish like to sit up against the walls near deep stuff and actively feed when that current's rolling. It also forces the fish to be in those slack water pockets near that current. So therefore it concentrates the fish into those key target areas. As that tide's rising, those fish are naturally going to move to the bank. That water's coming up. It's washing stuff in and out of the rocks. Crawdads move out to feed. Everything's going to actively feed closer to the shoreline. As that tide's pulling out, the fish can feel the water dropping over their head. They're going to pull out to the nearest, deepest structure or cover. And a lot of the time, too, that has that opposite effect. If you see a piece of wood and it's sticking up on the bank and you see that piece of wood on low tide's only 8 foot, if there was three fish on there, once that tide drops out, you can think, oh, I missed that fish on the shoreline. I'm going to come back in 3 hours. There's only going to be 2 foot of water. I know exactly where that fish is going to be pinpointed on the end of that log or on the end of that grass patch. So it's something to think about in regards to tides. What is your favorite reel, and is there a rod to use for multi-purpose? Yeah, this is cool because Gibbs doesn't know about STIX yet, so that works out. We have our hybrids, a hybrid spin and a hybrid bait cast. So the hybrid spin is our heavier of the 2 spinning rods. We have the finesse stick, and the hybrid spin stick is the more powerful, more versatile the spinning rod. If you want to do everything in regards to spinning, the hybrid spin is your rod of choice. If you're just getting into bait casting and you want to throw the lighter lures up to your medium weight lures, your hybrid cast is going to be your most versatile one. And that was actually the foundation that STIX is built on, those 2 rods, and then we went from there to grab everything else into the lineup.
Nick and I, when we started this, well, first of all, I got to throw a shout out to Gib. Gib is in the hospital, he just said.
Whoa.
Waiting on his son to arrive.
No way.
Good news. Yeah, whoa. Like, that's how I read that first too. I was like, oh, in the hospital, that's waiting for his son to arrive.
Whoa.
Right.
Now it's a different whoa.
Yeah, congratulations, man. I got one coming on the way, on my first one in a couple months, and I have no idea if it's a boy or a girl yet. Just can't wait to be a father.
I'm going with girl.
Nick's called me daddy for a lot of years.
Yeah, but that was different. I got 3.
So,
yeah.
But going back to STIX, Nick and I...
What's up, Manly?
Most frequent questions we get with all our how-to videos is, what rod should I use for that? What rod do you suggest that I start with that? And then when we broke that out, we got so many rod questions that there wasn't really clear answers to. Then we went, well, what is our number 1 question when it's that? And most people reach out and say, I'm getting into bass fishing. I want to buy 1 or 2 rods that are dedicated to bass fishing that as I grow, I can add on to. I don't have to then start over. These are getting me in the right direction. And that's what the 2 hybrid sticks were for. The hybrid spin and the hybrid cast are a spinning rod, and a bait casting rod that are our most versatile 2 rods in the lineup. And they're also on the lighter side of things as well. It's not, you're not going to be punching with these things. You're going to do what the beginning anglers are going to do the most, using some finesse baits, using some little crankbaits, spinnerbaits,
Texas
top
red
water.
worms,
yeah, all that stuff.
poppers.
And then as you grow your fishing knowledge, you can buy some of these other STIX rods that will allow you to do some of the bigger techniques and the more specialized techniques.
Will STIX be at IFMIS and the Modesto Toyota Expo yearly? Absolutely. There will be STIX to check out at each one of those events from now on. So 2018? We in the future yet?
Yeah. Is it? I don't know.
I don't know. I think I went back a year. Are we forward a year?
Yeah.
Is it 2025?
It'll be 2019. It'll be all the IFMIS.
No, IFMIS is in November.
So IFMIS 2018. Wow.
Yeah, man, we don't even know what year it is.
Also,
apparently we fish too much.
If you see Nick and I out on the water, which I see a lot of you guys come and say what's up to me and everything, feel free to check out the rods. I'll show anybody the rods. When I was at Pinto Lake the other day, I was telling you about so when I went college fish, I actually left the plug. I didn't put the plug in my boat. I haven't done that in at least a couple years.
We've all done it.
Yeah, I've never done that in the last 2 years.
You're like, ooh, submarine.
So I finally started catching some fish. I got on a spot where I was just smoking them, and on the Lipless, and then and I looked, and there was water, a little bit of water around the drain in the middle of the boat. My coffee cup was laying over. I'm like, I know I drank all that coffee because that spilled in. That's a weird way for it to spill. That's a weird way to spill right around the drain like that. And then as I'm looking, all of a sudden, I hit a little bit of a wave or something like that, and it goes. And I was the boat's full of water. So turned on the boat, went back to the ramp. Anyway, picked up 2 guys. So I went, pulled the boat out, and while I was letting all the boat drain out, or letting all the water drain out of the boat, 2 guys came over and said, "What's up?" And I was like, "Hey guys, you guys catch anything?" They're like, "No, I can't get bit." And I caught probably 15 or 20 at that point. And I'm like, "Guys, get in the boat." We put the plug back in. I drove them across, and they had just bought a couple new rods themselves. But also, I was like, "Hey guys, pick up these," and they got to use the STIX rods as well.
Oh,
always
sick.
letting anybody who wants to try something else out use those things, man. So anyone who wants to pick one up, if you see me out there, I will definitely let you make a few casts with it.
All right. Let's see. One bait that works around Bethel Island.
Around Bethel Island.
For largemouth, if you got to throw one, Senko.
Yeah. Just drag
6-inch green pumpkin Senko, man. A watermelon red flake or black and red. That's, I know he said one. So pick one of those colors.
The best thing I like to do with Senkos too, and this works anywhere in the country with pretty much every lure anyway.
Microwave them.
If we know you're going to use a Senko, microwave and then eat them. No, Nick, we're not at that point.
Works.
Is when you go to the tackle shop, ask them what color's selling the most at that point. What are you guys selling the most of? Right. Well, what color is everyone buying right now? They'll tell you what color the fish are dialed into, and that'll also tell you if it's on like a bluegill bite or if it's on some kind of, if it's on a crawdad bite, if there's a lot of red flake or watermelon red flake or
black or red.
Yeah, and so that'll key you in also what the bite's doing. But that, when Cinco's, and you look at that Cinco rack and there's just like, you don't know where to start and you just start picking out your favorite colors, that's probably not the best way to do it at those local
And if you don't have that intel, if you can't see beyond a foot deep, black and blue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
always... if you could see about 4 feet or deeper, green pumpkin or watermelon red flake's a good idea. If you could see around 2 foot deep, I like to throw a lot of black and red. So that's a generalize. If you can't get that information from the tackle shop, that tends to work for me wherever I go.
I always ask the guys in the FLW and stuff, because you think that these guys have every single color dialed in and everything, but the reality is the top guys, they try to keep things simple. And pretty much all of them will tell you their 2 favorite ones are either green pumpkin or black and blue. And the green pumpkin is for the majority conditions. If the water's, if the water's clear, it's just slightly stained. But anytime there's darker water, they'll throw that black and blue, and that works pretty much all over the country. And then as you get to certain regions, they will have their certain colors that work on those particular bodies of water. According to what bait fish and things are in that lake.
I got a good question for you here.
Let's see it.
This is from Michael Lewis.
Michael Lewis, okay.
What do you do if a bass keeps picking up your jig and spitting it out right away?
You go cast
just mouthing it.
You go cast somewhere else.
It's pretty good.
Okay, so I have to assume that
I usually ask him not to.
I have to assume that he's talking about bed fishing, because I don't know what other point you're going to keep seeing a bass.
No. I've had it to where you feel him peck
it. If you feel a bite, yes.
Like,
if you feel a bite, that could be small fish. That could be, there's basically, well, first of all, let's break it into 2 parts. It's bed fishing. If you're actually seeing them do that, you could throw different lures. What I do is I when that fish comes up to it, if it's on a jig, I will hit the back of my rod, and that actually on like semi-slack line, and that will actually make your jig pop straight up instead of coming to you. When you're hopping it, it's always coming to you. It's called stroking the jig is what they call it. I don't know why this is what they call it down south. Hit it, and that'll pop that thing straight up, and a lot of times that will trigger them to really just hammer it. They're not just coming up pecking at it. It looks like that thing just jumped at them and kind of called them out, and they'll inhale it.
So this guy's asking right here, fluorocarbon or mono for spinnerbaits and chatterbaits in what pound test? Lost a big one on the Delta 2 weeks ago. I live on the Delta, 100% 20-pound fluorocarbon. And the reason for this is sometimes those big ones are right next to timber. They're right next to toolies. You need to get their head to turn. I throw it on the power stick, and sometimes I will throw it on the reaction stick. But for when I'm targeting those big boys, if I'm throwing a half-ounce chatterbait, I like to throw it on the power stick with 20-pound fluorocarbon. My spinnerbaits, sometimes I'll actually throw it on the surface stick, but I primarily throw it on the reaction stick, and I throw that on 15-pound fluoro. But if I'm fishing really, really heavy cover and not sparse grass with a spinnerbait, I'm going back to that power stick with the 20-pound fluorocarbon, because I can hit them, the rod will bow to them, I'll get their head turned, and I can wrench them in. Don't spend all that time and get a big one and have it break you off. If you're on the Delta, a lot of the time you can get away with that bigger line. On these lakes that's gin clear, sometimes dropping down in line weight's going to be the deal. A lot of guys will fish their baits kind of unique and fish them on straight braid on the Delta. I don't do that. I will do that on top water, but I don't do that in any other baits out there. But a lot of guys do, and there's really nothing wrong with it. I just feel like I get a couple extra bites here and there.
Yeah, I agree. Braided line. They asked actually about that braided line for Cinco with Cincos. And I don't ever fish a Cinco on just straight braided line. Nick, I doubt you do either. Do you?
No.
So here's what you do. Because
I have in the past just for fun.
But
I don't normally.
Ken said he doesn't have enough money to buy another reel. He just put braided line on, which is expensive.
Leader.
Yes, a leader line. You know how much leader you need, and also you could put either 6 to 12 feet on there if you want to just have the leader. But there's times with my braided line, there's times on all my punching ones, you can use just a little bit. Or on my punching, there's times when I'm punching with braid, but then also there's clear water. It's a little more pressure. I go to meat or something. I'm not about to take all the braid off my reel.
No way.
I'm the same as you. I'm not trying to throw away money. What I'll do is I'll just put 20 or 30 feet of
Top shot.
Yes, of fluorocarbon or whatever line you want on top of that. And so you're only using, because if you're throwing a Cinco on the Delta especially, you're not making casts across
30,
the
40
Delta.
feet max.
You're just, and you're just flipping around, making little short casts. Just put enough of that line on top of that braid that you're not going to get down to that braid while you're out fishing, and you'll be able to save it for another day. But I would not suggest tying a Cinco just to braid. You can do it. I know there's people going, dude, I do it all the time. Fish will bite anything. And they'll bite cheeseburgers. Okay, dude, it doesn't, like, yes, there are exceptions to everything.
I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, but I won't. But I don't know. Nick doesn't throw straight braid to a Senko.
No, hardly ever do I throw a straight braid on anything aside from topwater. Pretty much 100% of my topwater is straight braid unless I'm fishing a popper. Then I'll use a leader. Oh, here's a question for you. Oh, wait a minute. I just missed it.
Lipless one? Is that
yeah. Why do bass keep spinning the hooks whenever I fish a lipless crankbait? Now, I'm going to talk about hooks, but you talk.
Okay,
so lipless crankbait's his favorite.
I don't know if they're spitting. Okay, so
I'm a hook expert.
Because also bass are crazy that they will bite a lipless and not even get hooked.
Yep.
And you're like, dude, how this just snagged everything in my boat, in my
back
car.
first. Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing that they can eat something like that. And you get just railed, and you go, and they're not even on there. And you're like, dude, what just happened? But I think he's talking about fighting the fish.
Yeah,
and
coming
coming off. All right, so go ahead and talk about.
So there's a couple different things to think about. Now, treble hooks come in two different styles. There's the EWG style or triple grip. You may have heard that referred to. That's where the hook points tilt in slightly, and then there's a bigger gap, and it kind of is not so rounded. It kind of has more of a EWG style. It kind of ends and then comes back. That style, when you hook them, they stay on better. Now, here's a downside to that. The standard round bend treble hook has a higher hookup ratio, but when the fish is shaking his head, they also come off easier. So those are two things to think about in regards to hooks. I'm also the West Coast Mustad fishing spokesperson, so there you go. I know everything you want to know about hooks. If you want more detailed questions on what size or what type to put on any particular bait, just send me an email and I'll try to get that answered for you. Now, another thing to think about is how much pressure you are putting on that fish. Lipless crankbait, it's critical to have a rod with a limber tip. And I think you're throwing it on the hybrid stick, right?
Well, I throw it on, so I'm always changing.
I threw the
rods.
big one on the reaction stick.
If I can get them biting on the hybrid, it's money, because it has such give to it, because you want the give. It's if that fish has enough leverage, it's going to rip a little bit and be able to shake it free, or it's
If your
just going
rod's
to
too
pop it
stiff,
completely free.
it'll tear it free.
But I want to back up one more thing about the hooks. I like light wire hooks.
Because they stick in
Yes,
here.
they're so sticky. But when you have a light wire hook, when people say a fish bends out their hook, a lot of times you think you get the hook back and it's bent out. And you're like, and that does happen. You're like, whoa, it bent out the hook. But a lot of times they will actually flex.
Yep.
So when you're fighting that fish and it's going, that hook will flex just a little bit
and pull out,
and it will get the angle to pull out and stuff. So when you're using light wire hooks, you're going to get better hookups, but you got to know you've got to play those fish out a lot more.
Don't be pulling extra
You've got to
hard.
set your drag a little looser. You've got to make sure you're using what we're talking about, one of those more flexible rods. But if I'm fishing the Delta or something, I'm fishing over a bunch of weeds and everything. I know that fish is going to come up, eat it, and bury themselves in the weeds. I'm going to beef up my hooks, and I'm going to know I have to give it to that fish and really be able to yank it out of those weeds.
That's the exact example for when I fish a reaction rod, the reaction stick.
And yes, so you have to understand. And that's why I use a bunch of different rods, because there's times that I'm catching fish up shallow. I'm just hopping the bait, and I want to feel every vibration in that hop. And that's on the hybrid stick. But when I make long casts, there's too much flex, I would say, actually, in the hybrid to sometimes be able to get that vibration from so far away. That's when I'll switch over to like the reaction stick or the even the surface stick I'll use that has a little more backbone, so I can control that bait because I want to just really pop it from a long distance. So there's really the feel. You got to switch around and stuff. But if you keep losing fish, you're doing something incorrect. And even there's the last thing. If that fish is spitting up, you might want to change colors of your lipless,
Because he's probably barely getting it.
when I was using Lipless the other day, they were getting hooked all the way in the back of the gills. And this is a bait I'm moving. There's no, it's not like I can set the hook faster. I'm moving the bait, and they are just inhaling it. If you're getting that fish and it's getting hooked way back there, you're using the right color. If they're spitting it up, it might be because they're not fully committing. That's not really what they're feeding on. They're just they're hitting out a reaction. They're nipping at it, and you're just not getting a good hook.
You want to know a trick that Cody Meyer said a long time ago that I did on a lipless? It was a shad color. It wasn't a dark color lipless. I had that Spike It pen. It was garlic chartreuse, and I actually took the whole head of my lipless and I colored it with the garlic chartreuse and let it dry for about 30 seconds and threw it out there. And dude, my hookup ratio is way better. Because when they come in and they see chartreuse, it's like a focal point. I don't know what that is. A lot of people say it's the black dot is a focal point. And yeah, I could see that. But the chartreuse also works extremely well.
Yep.
Or you can add a little red around the head or a little chartreuse. Try that if you don't have different colored lipless and you had one tied on. You can always just scrub it right off.
I would love to see a fishing show competition, this is from Kenzie, that shows the viewers a handful of pro fishermen whom fish with primitive gear and hooks. This has never been done. Oh, I thought this was going to be just a competition show. I was like, seeing up your the verses.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I could maybe try to handicap them a little bit with primitive stuff.
Here's the problem. I'll fish with whatever I have at the moment. But when I have a choice to actually go do what I want to do, I want to use like
the premium.
I want to use like what I have. It's hard to then just spend a day fishing
knowing you're using the wrong stuff.
But that being said, if I'm at some lake, on vacation with my wife or something like that, and all of a sudden I see like the fish biting and stuff, I will go to Walmart in a hurry. And go buy a $20 setup and go out there and go start fishing. So I've left more Walmart setups of bass fishing gear in more random hotels and random places I couldn't bring it back on the plane than I think probably anyone else out there.
What's your guys' favorite part of the Delta? I fish the Stockton Delta a lot. It just really depends on what I'm trying to do. If I'm fishing a lipless crankbait, I like the flooded ponds a lot. I like Mildred, Mandeville, Frank's Track, and that's early in the spring if I'm fishing a lipless crankbait. If I'm fishing a square bill, anywhere with riprap walls. In the summertime, I like to fish the central delta, and the reason for that is wherever there's a lot of marinas and boat docks, they're dropping pellets and chemicals to kill the grass. It's messing with the fish's stability, to where if you start figuring them out, it's going to screw them up. They probably won't be there the next day. So what I suggest in the summertime is get out well far away from any sort of marinas to where they're not going to treat that water nearly as much, and learn out there, and your patterns will hold up a lot better. So that's kind of how I move around a lot.
Checking Facebook.
Walmart gear. Okay. Paracord lure hook. Oh, advertising there, all right. You should come to Oregon and fish the Willamette River. How do you say that, Travis? Big bass underwater. Underrated river.
Willamette.
Willamette. Big bass underrated river. I've never even heard of it. So yeah, definitely underrated, dude. I got family in Oregon. I might just have to do that. Keep bugging me, and maybe I'll eventually make my way up there. This guy probably just randomly pops in on every state once a week. I wouldn't know. He gets around like a record.
You spin me right round, baby, right round.
Let's see. Which Styx rod is best for mono? I actually like the stretch. So if you're going to use one and you like the stretch, I'm going to say use the fastest action rod in our lineup, and that would be the Surface Stick. Yeah, if you're fishing a line with a lot of stretch, and the reason why the Surface Sticks is the fastest action is because you need to walk baits a lot with big top waters. So that has that faster action strictly for being able to walk a bait.
Control.
Effectively. Control.
And but we just talked about when I just went down to Mexico catching huge bass, when I was throwing the spook, I actually used the reaction stick, which is our most flexible rod. But the reason being was when I throw a spook in these situations, I wanted that spook staying almost in one place.
Yeah.
So when I was working it, I wanted to make it walk, but then at the same time,
You didn't
if you
wanna
want
pull it
to,
forward.
yeah, you want it to stay. So you want to actually, at the same time as you're pulling it to the other side, you also want to be giving it line to go back the other way, and having a nice limber rod allows
It didn't
that to do
force
that.
it back.
Yep.
Yeah, it gave to it.
And with the surface stick,
Cheater.
I was moving it a little too. It was always coming to me. And when you're throwing, normally 9 out of 10 times when I'm throwing a spook, I'm firing it down the bank and working it quick as I got my foot on the trolling motor,
Me too.
and then going
Yeah.
the next cast. And that's where the surface stick's gonna work. But you can, and that's the whole idea of this line is you do not want to get locked into one rod. There's no such thing as the perfect rod for a certain technique. If
And
you
that's
say, hey,
why we've divided everything.
I
into
want a
sets.
rod for spinnerbaits. I will say there's no such thing. Where are you throwing this? What time of the year?
Yeah,
What
application
size?
purposes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so you cannot have a rod that just matches.
If I'm throwing a quarter ounce versus a 3/4 ounce spinnerbait, if I'm throwing it around timber, wood, boat docks, light grass, fishing it deep, those are different rods. So you have to have versatility in your rod lineup. If someone says, grab me my spinnerbait rod, you fish in one place.
Yep.
That's what it tells me right away. That you don't fish spinnerbaits to the max variety. A lot of people say, oh, I know how to fish a spinnerbait. Like, you do? Okay, then go beat Kevin Van Dam with it.
Yeah.
No, Kevin Van Dam knows how to fish spinnerbait.
And I promise you, he doesn't use one rod for the spinnerbait.
I bet you he's got a bunch.
He's got a million. They're not. It doesn't have. He has a million different rods for his spinnerbaits for the different situations he's going to be in. What size the spinnerbait is, and it like a perfect example is, hey, give me a good worming rod. All right, give me a good worming rod. I've thrown worms on every single one of our 6 rods.
You are a bit of a worm
We're
dangler.
drop shotting on finesse, and then the power stick. When I was in Mexico, we were throwing with Big O Steve Parks, Strike King. We were throwing 10-inch thumper worms and 7-inch Magnum cutters.
I was just throwing the Zoom Old Monster with my buddy Justin out back on it.
And we were throwing it on half ounce and throwing it with the power stick and catching 8-9 pound bass. So that's a worming rod.
Jealous.
But so is when I'm drop shotting, fish in mead or wherever I'm throwing a drop shot. So there's no such thing. You need to understand it's more important to understand your equipment than it is to understand, hey, I have this rod and this is my chatterbait rod. This is my spinnerbait rod. There's no
That's a bad habit.
Yeah.
And I started to fall into that years ago.
I've been knee deep. I want to say, I guess I've been balls deep in the wrong way on that. I'm thinking one rod stands for one type of lure, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
Okay, a week ago, I saw 3 or 4 bass come up to a bunch of bluegills on beds, stir up a big cloud of debris, then went to town on them. What would just swim in and out in a cloud? Largemouth. They sit right outside the bluegill beds, and this is a very underrated technique. I fish bluegill glide baits, bluegill wake baits, green tubes, all around bluegill beds all the time. This is actually one of my favorite techniques this time of year. Depending on where you are in the country, I think if you're in the middle of the country, bluegills are just starting to bed. If you're down south, they should have just finished. If you're on the East Coast, they're going to start probably in about 3 to 4 weeks. But if you see those bluegills up there on those little circular beds, you see them spinning around just outside that visual range, just where you can't see, I guarantee you there is bass consistently sitting out there, and they're waiting for bluegills to drop their guard. If you don't see bass actively roaming, you need to focus in the nearest heavy cover, nearest shade pocket, or right outside where you can visually see down. If you can see down 3 feet, back up and fish that 4 to 6 foot range. And shake something green down there like a tube, that hop it up and down on like a 3/8 ounce head, and it looks like a bluegill, a small bluegill that scattered off a bed, is maybe wounded, and they're going to capitalize on that. So that was more than likely bass, unless you have stripers in your system. They can run it down, pike can run it down, but I would say more than likely bass.
Do we grow our own worms in a DIY worm farm, or do you buy them? I guess I wasn't clear on that. I gotta make sure I'm always explaining. Whenever I talk about worms, I'm talking about plastic. I bass fish, so I don't say never, but rarely do I ever throw any kind of live bait. So when I say that, it's plastic worms, from little drop shot worms to big old, rage tail, magnum cutters and stuff. Then a quick one. I got a quick answer for the 3 to 5 feet.
That's the one I was looking at, too.
Cabot, what lures shine in situations like these? 3 to 5 feet of visibility, murky water, lots of weed, and riprap around. I'm going to throw either like a buzz bait right now in the summertime and everything like that. Nice buzz bait, work nice and slow. Clack, 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 clack. We'll call those fish out of those weeds. You can cover a lot of water with that. or even a spinnerbait. Got the same idea, just you're going to be subsurface with that.
You know what's interesting with that? I throw that spinnerbait when I start on that day or when I'm finishing that day. Midday, I actually throw a chatterbait unless I'm getting too much weeds. And if I do get too much weeds, I actually use a swim jig because it falls a little deeper into the weeds and is more weedless and comes through there. Get a swim jig. If the water's real dirty, get a swim jig with glass rattles. That'll get you extra bites too.
And that swim jig, that swim jig will just crawl in between those
Let
weeds
it get in there. If you're reeling, you feel it hung up on the grass, bow your rod tip and then pop, pop, and then slowly reel it again. A lot of the time when it slingshots out of there, they're like, ah, boom, and they'll smoke it right there. So when you pop, pop, make sure you have a good grip on it because we've all been guilty of the pop, pop, wing, and then grab our rod back out of midair because we're like, you just get used to the system of popping it, and then you hold it kind of loosely, and that's when they crush it. So if you've ever seen me like hooked up with a fish up here and reeling down fast, that's because I was putting action into that bait, and the fish ate it when I was up high, so I reeled as fast as I could to get into a proper leverage position, 930, 1030 rod position. Have you guys ever fished the Charles River or lakes or pods in Boston? I've never been to Boston. You ever been to Boston?
Never been to Boston. Boston.
Maybe you and I should go to Boston. I can't even fake a Boston accent.
Have never even been
No
close
offense.
to Boston because we don't even have a Boston accent. We can't even.
We can't even fake
Boston.
Dude, I'd like to go to Boston. Seems like a cool place.
Yes.
Yeah. All in the movies, it seems like a cool place.
Also, Nick, it is 7:20.
Isn't that where Cheers is?
We're gonna do a couple. Is it?
Wasn't Cheers in Boston, or is that Chicago?
No, it might have been Chicago.
Ah, dang it. Used to watch Cheers a lot. That's got to count for something.
So it's almost 7:30. So let's do a couple more questions.
Yep.
And I did tell my wife I'm gonna be home for dinner.
Oh, yeah. Well, I still have to drive 2.5 hours, Chief.
You're not gonna be home for dinner.
No, I won't be home for dinner, babe. All right.
Let's pick a couple good ones.
I caught a 5.5, 4.5, a 3.75 off of a tree limb, laying down in 3 feet away of a bluegill bed. It took a 3/4 ounce black and blue jig with a Z craw on the back. Tried like 12 different baits to get them to bite. Prime example. They were dialed into bluegills. They were sitting outside of there. If they would have been actively feeding, bro, they probably would have ran out and crushed something right away. They were probably waiting until the evening to attack those bluegill beds, or they're waiting for the wind to pick up to go attack those bluegill beds. Conditions that'll help them actively chase the bluegills down to where the bluegills will kind of drop their guard. When it gets slick, calm, and sunny, that's not primo conditions for those bass to feed. So you did exactly what I would do. I would try different things to get them to react, and sure as hell, and crushed them, dude. Kick ass. That wasn't even a question. That's exactly what I would have done. That's awesome.
Personal best. We had a couple personal bests. 11.5 pounds on a spook on the California Delta in February.
12.4 Strike King 38 Special all red spinnerbait in March 4 years ago, bumping it through Toolies in literally 12 inches of water.
Dang. I forgot.
I don't even know how she fit.
I want to change mine. I forgot. Mine wasn't 11.5.
It was 21.
It was 12.41.
12.41.
What was yours again?
12, 14.
Both in the Delta, dude. I don't even fish the Delta anymore. I haven't fished the Delta in a couple years. The Delta just is, with all the tidal movement and stuff, man, it can be very inconsistent.
You guys ever fish in North Ontario, Canada? You shot a...
Yeah,
what was it, a Scott Martin?
Yeah, I saw a Scott Martin challenge up on the Minnesota Canadian border on, I have no idea what lake. I can't remember. That's why I wasn't even going to read that.
Worry about it,
eh? Don't worry. They almost didn't let me in. So I get to the border. So you're on the border, right? So the lake is on the border, California.
So
the lake's on the border. So you have to go into Canada to their
medical to get
border
checked
patrol,
out.
and they look up your background check and stuff. And so we got all these YouTubers with us. We had Flair, Tyler Anderson, Noah Pescatelli. Who else do we have?
And
Jake the Almighty.
Jake.
We had all kinds
Jake.
of YouTubers. And we go up to Canada. I'm like, all right, which one of these little punks is not going to get in and screw this whole trip up? And so they come out, they go, Travis Moran? I'm like, yeah. And he takes me in the back. And he goes, all right.
Gets the rubber glove.
He goes, Travis, tell me about this altercation in Chico, California in
altercation.
Let's see, when was it? In 2005. And I'm like,
that's on your record?
I'm like, I'm not going to deny anything right now, but I'd like I'd like you to clarify what you're talking about. This was
Not
a long
going to
time
confirm
I'm
or
all,
deny.
This is like 10 years ago. Like, I don't know what we're even talking
You're
about.
like, I was 10, bro.
We got this was at college days. There was some altercation we had. I spent the night in the drunk tank for whatever reason. I'm not going to go into that. But there was no charges. There's nothing on my record. Nothing. Until Canada got a hold of my record. Apparently, they can see more stuff than we can see.
Oh, there you go.
And
There's some little proof for you.
Came clean with them, and they let us go fishing in Canada in the lake that I still can't remember what the lake was.
Yeah, even with an altercation on your record.
It was a good time.
Guess I'm not getting into Canada.
Canada fishing is fantastic.
Squares that up for me. I will not be fishing North Ontario, brother.
Ay. All right. I'll answer one last question, then we're out of here.
One last question.
I gotta head home, but anyway, guys, head over to sticksfishing.com if you guys want to check out.
We're both going to answer this last one.
Okay.
Have you ever met KVD or Scott Martin? KVD is a friend of the family. He lives down the street from my aunt and uncle. I played with him when I was a little kid. Didn't even realize it was the same Kevin. He grew up, got famous. He was always a few years older than me. I got a call from my cousin. This is, when I was 19, 20? And says, hey, do you ever watch Kevin on Bassmasters? I said, Kevin who? She's like, Van Dam. I'm like, that's the same Kevin? Yeah. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. She's like, you coming out this summer? So I'm like, yeah, I'll come out this summer. Flew back there. It's been many years since I went there. Went with Kenny, the president of DNR Sporting Goods. Kenny, I've known Kenny too. I didn't even realize Kenny was the president of DNR Sporting Goods. This is really right when I was getting into I don't even think I made my first video yet at the time. No, I didn't. And Kenny introduced me to Kevin again, re-met Kevin at DNR Sporting Goods, and then we actually went to Kevin Van Dam's house and fished when his twin boys were little, and he beat the hell out of me in 5 casts, and I fished there for 3.5 hours and didn't catch jack squat. Then he came back after hunting in the woods and made 2 more casts and beat the hell out of me again. So yes, I did meet Kevin, and it is very real. It's more than gift. It's something special.
Yeah, Kevin Van Dam.
And you have...
Scott Martin. I've been on the Scott Martin Challenge. I talk to him on a regular basis. He fishes FLW Tour. I'm one of the... we talked about that. I do the live show, and so I'm constantly calling him for information. He's constantly in the top 10, so he's a good source of information and stuff. I consider him a buddy. I will be seeing, most likely going to dinner with him or something in a few weeks.
And Scott said, by the way, Scott said he was going to challenge me on the Scott Martin Challenge on the Delta. Me and this guy, who were we giving Scott? Lambert or something?
Yeah, we were giving Lambert.
Lambert's too much of a stud, though, bro.
Yeah, Lambert, man, setting records.
You know what? If you guys want it,
here it is.
You guys want it.
On the last tournament,
you could
Kentucky
take that,
Lake.
Jason. You could take
How
it,
about
Scott.
Lambert won it?
Yeah.
You know who got second?
Scott
Martin.
So we're not fishing Kentucky. We're fishing the Delta.
We're going to take
Screw Kentucky.
The Kentucky shake and bake is what that is.
We're not fishing there. Not against them, too. Unless we handicap them and glue one hand behind their back or something.
Yikes.
All right, guys. It's been fun answering your questions. Remember, sticksfishing.com right down there. Check out the rod lineup. We only have 20 more Styx packs. That's all 6 of the Styx for $500 with all the swag and the limited lifetime warranty. Once this is up, it's going to be a year warranty, and the price will be a little bit higher, but it's still going to be a very good warranty. You're still going to get rod gloves on all that. But all the extras are part of the pre-sale. So if you want to check it out, don't miss out on a great opportunity. Go check it out. Make sure to follow my buddy right here, Travis Moran. We're always going to try to get him on the Informative Fisherman channel when we can, but he's a busy dude, so that happens. Just look at him. He doesn't even have time to shave. All right, guys. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.
Later, guys. And the Affco partnership. Big news.
Big news.
It's going down.
Going down for real. Getting some high-quality Styx swag. Some Affco Styx swag. See you later, guys.